This episode is sponsored by Squarespace. I used Squarespace to build both Basics with Babish and BingingWithBabish.com. On the sites, you'll find recipes, equipment lists, other news, and updates. All beautifully designed, if I do say so myself. Get 10% off your first Squarespace order by visiting squarespace.com/babish.
Hello there, welcome back to another episode of Arcade with Alvin. This time we're going to be making the Tonkatsu from Cooking Mama, a beloved video game that, well, involves a lot of food. Tonkatsu is a very comforting dish. It's a Japanese dish that involves a fried pork cutlet, lightly seasoned, coated in homemade breadcrumbs, fried until crispy, and often served with a nice sweet and tangy sauce that complements the pork. And the many times I've been lucky enough to eat this dish, a lot of the restaurants that specialize in tonkatsu often pride themselves on a special sauce that they serve, a house secret sauce, so to speak, so we're going to be focusing on that a lot. What makes a tonkatsu different than a traditional pork cutlet is that not only is the meat light and tender, but the crispiness of the breadcrumbs is more of a airy or pillowy crispiness, which results from using breadcrumbs that have been freshly made rather than dried. So, to begin, I have here a beautiful 2-pound whole pork loin. I'm going to cut this into roughly 1-inch thick slices, pretty generous portions, because, well, the larger the pork slice is, the more juicy and tender the final product will be. After all of our cutlets have been equally portioned out, we're going to go ahead and use a meat mallet to pound out the pork until it's about 1/4 of an inch thick. And we're going to take some reference from the game. Now, in Cooking Mama, there's a step where you can clearly see the knife make little incisions across the pork loin. I'm guessing that this helps delete a lot of that tough sinew, so when the pork fries, it doesn't curl up. So I think that's a great idea. We're going to make some identical cuts and try to cut through any of that tough sinew that'll hold this pork together. Each side gets seasoned with a little bit of salt and pepper, pretty simple, and these go and hang out and chill in the fridge to absorb all of that seasoning while we work on our sauce. The tonkatsu specialized restaurants in Japan that I've been to usually pride themselves on using a lot of fruits in their sauce, so we're going to do the same. I'm going to peel and cut half carrot and half of an apple into small chunks. I'm also going to cut 1/2 of a white onion, peeled and roughly chopped, in addition to 1 small tomato. For an extra punch of flavor, I'm also cutting up 15 grams of prunes. This should lend some nice texture and body, as well as sweetness and tartness to our sauce. In a sauce pot over medium heat, I'm cooking the vegetables and fruits together for about 10 to 15 minutes or until everything starts to soften. Then I'm adding in 150 grams of soy sauce, 150 grams of sugar, 30 grams of rice vinegar, and 60 grams of Worcestershire sauce. This simmers for another 20 to 30 minutes, just until the fruits and vegetables are about to fall apart. Then in goes one of my favorite tools in the kitchen, the immersion blender, which turns all of your chunky problems into one smooth solution. Then, just to avoid any large particulate, we're going to strain this over a mesh strainer into a bowl and refrigerate the nice and smooth sauce until it is ready to be used for our tonkatsu. A garnish that is nearly always served with tonkatsu is thinly sliced shredded cabbage. It is believed that cabbage helps with digesting greasy and fried foods and acts as a nice bed for the tonkatsu to rest its head upon. So I'm thinly slicing these strips as thin as I can, but my knife skills aren't the best in the world, and I'm pretty sure there's a way better way to do this. So even though there's some probably thick chunks in there, I'm gonna let that slide for now. Now it is time to get our breading in order. A lot of recipes for tonkatsu include namapanko, which I believe is using fresh breadcrumbs instead of the dried ones. And in Cooking Mama, they seem to do the same. What seems to be a nice baguette is just grated over a box grater until you have nice fresh breadcrumbs. We're gonna do the same, but in reality, this is a little bit harder than it looks. Because the bread is slightly soft and has a little bit of moisture that kind of just chunks off every now and then and takes a lot of manpower to do this. So we're gonna recruit the help of our studio members. We got Rachel helping out, we got Steve helping out, we got Nico helping out. We jumped back in at some point because this is quite a tiring task. Again, there is probably a better way to do this, but we must follow the rules of Cooking Mama as she is the queen. At long last, our bowl of fresh breadcrumbs are ready for use. So, to our breading station. Very traditional setup. We got the flour in one plate, we got 3 eggs cracked and mixed in one other plate, and we got our fresh breadcrumbs all the way at the end. For breading, we're taking one of our seasoned and chilled pork cutlets, going into the flour, patting it up, going into the egg, and finally into the panko. I like to take handfuls of the bread breadcrumbs and press them into it to let them make these nice clumps so that you get these airy pockets of crunchy goodness at the end. After all of our cutlets have been breaded, we're now going to fry. We've heated a pot of oil to about 350 degrees, so I'm going in 2 cutlets at a time, frying for 2 to 3 minutes until it turns a nice light golden brown. Once all 4 of them are done, I'm cranking up the heat to 375 and giving these a double fry, just for about a minute. This is supposed to evaporate any of the leftover moisture left in the breadcrumbs and give it a nice crispy brown crust. These rest on a sheet tray lined with parchment paper and paper towels. And while those cool down as they do their final rest, we are going to assemble our plate akin to the game. We got some steamed broccoli in one corner, a pile of cabbage on one side, and a lemon wedge for good measure, because lemon is also commonly served with tonkatsu. With our now freshly rested cutlets but still warm, I'm going to take a knife and slice them on the diagonal in order to fan these out and create a nice bed of crispy pork across this cabbage. And to serve, a nice helping of our house-made tonkatsu sauce made with a lot of fruits and vegetables in this one. And I present to you our version of homemade tonkatsu from Cooking Mama, a Japanese comfort dish that I have enjoyed many times in life. What I'm looking for is that the pork is slightly pink in the center, which means it's not overcooked. When I take a bite, seems like everything's good in the world. The sauce is nice, sweet and tangy, you can taste the fruits, the pork is nice and juicy, not tough at all, and the crispy breadcrumbs are crispy, but not that typical dried breadcrumb crisp. It's fun, I recommend it. And to wash this all down, a nice heaping handful of shredded cabbage, sliced a little bit too thickly, but will still do the job in helping this greasy food digest. And well, food tastes a lot better when you share it with other people, so everybody in the studio, come and help me finish this thing.
Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's episode. They've been a great partner in supporting the Babish culinary universe and bringing my websites to life. From websites to online stores to domains and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for you to build your online presence. They also have SEO tools so that your site is getting found and searched by more people more often. If you want to try it for yourself, you can start your free trial today by visiting squarespace.com/babish to get 10% off your first purchase.